Let me ask you something quietly, like the kind of question you whisper to yourself late at night, when no one else is around to hear, no one else to impress, just you and the truth. What if wealth wasn't something you had to chase? What if it was something you could simply allow? What if all the struggle, all the forcing, all the endless striving was never actually the way? What if the peace you've been searching for, the freedom, the sense of enoughness you crave, was already inside you, hidden underneath the noise, patiently waiting for you to notice? Hey everyone, I'm Bix, and welcome back to Bix Book Summary, where we don't just flip through pages. We breathe the ideas in, we feel them pulse through us, and we let them spark something real inside our own lives. Today, we're diving into a book that quietly but powerfully challenges so much of what we've been taught about money, success, and abundance, banned Money Secrets by Richard Dotts. But just so we're clear from the start, this isn't another get-rich-quick manual. It's not about manifesting luxury cars with a vision board or chanting affirmations until you're blue in the face. And it's definitely not about putting on a fake smile while secretly living in fear and scarcity underneath. This book is about something much more tender, much deeper. It's about changing the entire energy you live from. It's about moving from fear to trust, from scarcity to sufficiency, from resistance to genuine allowing. Because here's the radical and beautifully simple truth Richard Dotts invites us to consider. You don't attract what you desperately want. You attract what you already are. If you're living from tension, fear, and a sense of never enough, life will keep mirroring that back to you. But if you soften into openness, into peace, into a quiet trust in your own enoughness, you naturally invite more abundance into your experience without even forcing it. Money stops being a desperate chase you have to keep running. It becomes a dance you're finally free to move with. Gracefully, naturally, joyfully. And that's exactly what we're going to explore together today. We'll unpack why trying harder so often backfires, why chasing after money tends to push it further away, and how the real breakthrough happens when you soften, when you trust, when you allow yourself to receive instead of endlessly striving to achieve. Because true wealth, real, soul-deep wealth, isn't just about numbers in a bank account. It's about feeling safe enough to live with your heart open. It's about allowing the life, the love, the abundance that was always meant for you to flow into your world without resistance. So if you've ever found yourself exhausted by the fight, if you've ever felt like no matter how hard you try, money or success always seems just out of reach, if a part of you is ready to finally put down the struggle and step into a gentler, truer way of living and receiving, then you're exactly where you're meant to be. Take a deep breath, set down whatever heavy expectations you've been carrying, and let's begin. We grow up in a world where it's almost woven into us. The belief that success demands endless effort, that abundance only comes if we chase it hard enough, if we stretch and strain and reach for something that always feels just beyond our fingertips. We're taught that if we hustle more, push harder, sacrifice longer, then surely, we'll finally earn the right to have what we want. But Richard Dotts, in a voice that feels so much softer, so much wiser than the noise we usually hear, gently invites us to see something we're rarely ever taught. That the more you chase something, the more you actually push it away. Because chasing isn't just about movement. It's about energy. It's the energy of fear. It's the vibration of lack. It's the quiet but relentless whisper inside your chest that says, I don't have it yet. I'm not there yet. I have to fight for it. And even when we cover that whisper with a pretty coat of ambition or a polished resume of hard work, life doesn't hear our efforts. It hears our fear. Life doesn't respond to the words we say or the goals we write down. It responds to the deep emotional frequency we're broadcasting without even realizing it. When you chase something, what you're really telling life, what you're telling yourself, is, I don't trust you to bring me what I need. I don't trust that I'm worthy of it unless I grab it with both hands and refuse to let go. And that clenching, that invisible resistance you hold inside, becomes a wall you can't even see. The harder you run after abundance, the more it slips like smoke through your fingers. Richard reminds us, true abundance isn't something you conquer. It's something you allow. It's not found in the loud, frantic hustle. It's discovered in the quiet spaces. It's a gentle way of living that says, I know what I desire, I honor it, and I trust it's already weaving its way toward me as I continue moving toward it. You don't stop showing up. You don't sit on the couch and hope a miracle falls into your lap, but you stop showing up with fear in your gut. You stop moving with that tight, desperate energy that tries to force life into submission. Instead, you move from trust. You breathe through the moments of doubt instead of letting them consume you. You soften your grip and start letting life flow again. And slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, life starts responding to the version of you who already knows you're whole. Not the version who's running themselves ragged trying to fill a hole they were never missing to begin with. So next time you notice yourself tightening up again, clenching around a goal, feeling that familiar panic that you're falling behind, pause. Breathe. Feel the tightness and let it soften. And ask yourself, not how can I get there faster, but am I moving from fear right now or from trust? Because here's the quiet magic of it. When you trust, you stop chasing. And when you stop chasing, what you've been seeking finds its way to you, almost like it was always trying to, if only you'd given it space to arrive. Ahead, we're going to walk deeper into how to build that kind of trust, how to keep moving forward without the fear that used to hold you hostage. Because the real secret to abundance isn't about grinding harder. It's about remembering this truth you forgot somewhere along the way. You were never incomplete to begin with. You already are enough. And everything you're seeking is already seeking you too. Once you truly see that chasing only drives what you want further away, something powerful begins to unfold inside you almost naturally. A deeper realization rises, almost like a gentle tide that can't be stopped. If striving and forcing don't open the door to abundance, then what does? Richard Dotts invites us with such clarity and grace into the heart of the real answer: allowing. But don't mistake allowing for passivity. It's not about sitting back and crossing your fingers, waiting for life to magically hand you your dreams. It's an active, conscious decision. It's choosing trust over fear. It's trusting that the desires planted inside you weren't some random mistake. It's trusting that life has its own rhythms, its own tides, and that your role isn't to thrash against the current, but to move with it, calmly, openly, faithfully. Allowing means showing up every day with a quiet, steady expectancy. It's a state where you know deep down, you are already on your way. You don't have to clench. You don't have to panic. You don't have to beg reality to see you or prove yourself to the world. You simply align with life's natural current. You soften your internal resistance. You become the kind of person that life can move through easily, not the person standing stiff-armed, barking orders at the sky, wondering why nothing is happening. Dotts reminds us that abundance is not something rare. It's natural. It's the default setting of life. Look at the trees. They don't hustle to grow. Look at the rivers. They don't force themselves to flow. Look at the seasons. They don't panic their way into change. There's a sacred rhythm to everything, a timing beyond our human need to control and micromanage. And when you finally allow yourself to step into that rhythm, when you stop trying to force life to hurry up and instead move in sync with it, what once seemed impossible starts to feel inevitable. Not because you pushed harder, but because you finally stopped pushing against the very current that was always carrying you. Allowing, in its deepest essence, is about choosing to feel complete now. Choosing to feel worthy now. Choosing to feel safe now, even if the goal isn't here yet, even if the dream hasn't fully unfolded, even if your mind is desperately scanning for proof and finding none. Because, and this is the beautiful twist, when you allow yourself to feel abundant before the evidence shows up, you become a magnet for the very things you used to chase after. This is why Dotts circles back to the same simple but profound truth again and again. The work is never about forcing life to give you what you want. The work is clearing away the internal barriers to receiving it. It's letting go of the beliefs that whisper you're not worthy. It's dismantling the doubts that tell you it's too late. It's softening the fears that convince you have to struggle for your share. When you drop those layers, when you clear the noise, what you want naturally flows toward you. Not because you begged for it, but because you finally became an open space where it could arrive, where it could land, where it could stay. So if you want more abundance in your life, whether that means money, freedom, ease, love, connection, The work isn't out there. It's not in some secret strategy or exhausting chase. It's right behind you. It's in the way you see yourself before anything changes. It's in the energy you choose to live from, today, now, not when the dream comes, but before it does. It's in the way you move through your day, not desperately grasping, but warmly welcoming. Not fighting for control, but resting in trust. Not wondering if you'll ever be enough, but knowing you already are. And ahead, we'll step even deeper into this journey. Because trusting isn't something you feel once and forget. It's something you practice, something you embody, something you live, moment after moment, breath after breath. And when you learn to trust even in the spaces of uncertainty, you turn your whole life into an open invitation for miracles. A life where what you seek no longer feels far away, because it's already on its way home to you. Trust isn't something you stumble into by accident. It doesn't suddenly appear the moment everything feels safe and obvious. If you wait for all the signs to be clear, all the guarantees to be handed to you, all the proofs neatly lined up, you'll be waiting forever. That's the quiet but powerful truth Richard Dotts wants us to understand. Trust is not a reaction. Trust is a choice. A conscious, deliberate act of faith in something you can't fully see yet, but you can feel, whispering underneath all the noise and doubt. Trust is the muscle you strengthen when your mind screams fear, and you still somehow soften your grip instead of tightening it. Trust is what you live when your bank account looks thinner than you want, when opportunities seem to dry up, when the doors you knock on stay closed longer than you expected. Trust is choosing to breathe slower and deeper when every part of you wants to panic and push. It's holding the vision of the life you know you're meant to live, even when reality hasn't caught up yet, and refusing to collapse into despair. The writer reminds us that life doesn't test us by asking, "Do you want abundance?" Of course you do. We all do. The real question life asks is much more revealing. Can you still trust when you can't see the way? Can you keep your heart open when your old conditioning tells you to shut down? Can you take one more step in faith when fear is trying to lure you back into the smallness you worked so hard to outgrow? That's where transformation lives. Not in the easy, obvious moments, but right at the messy, uncertain edge of who you used to be. Learning to trust like this doesn't mean you never feel fear again. It doesn't mean you suddenly float through life like nothing touches you. It means you notice when fear grips you, but you don't build your house there anymore. It means you recognize the old survival patterns when they rise. The ones that shout, "Force harder," "Panic now," "Grab whatever you can." And instead of blindly obeying them, you smile gently and step aside. You let the storm of panic blow past without letting it sweep you away. This kind of trust becomes something deeper than a feeling. It becomes a way of being. A new inner climate that changes how you move through the world. You start saying yes to opportunities you would have once rejected out of fear. You start noticing doors that were open all along, but you were too anxious, too distracted, too clenched to see them. You start creating, not from a place of survival, but from a place of inspiration. Not because everything is perfect now, but because you've stopped demanding perfection as the price for feeling safe. And something quietly, beautifully begins to happen. Life starts rising to meet you. Not the frantic, desperate version of you that was chasing everything down, but the calm, rooted version of you who finally trusts that what's meant for you cannot miss you. You stop seeing timing as your enemy. You stop seeing delays as rejections. You stop needing constant proof to keep your heart open, because you realize the truth. Trust isn't about knowing exactly how the story ends. It's about knowing, deep in your bones, that no matter how the story twists and turns, you'll be okay. And ahead, we'll step even closer into this beautiful unfolding. Because when you live from that trust, when you become someone who welcomes life rather than fighting it, something miraculous happens. Money, success, connection, everything you once thought you had to fight for begins arriving at your doorstep. Not through force, not through fear, but on its own time, on its own terms. And you'll look back and realize you never needed to chase it after all. When you stop chasing and start trusting, something almost magical begins to happen. Something so subtle at first that you might miss it if you're not paying attention. Life starts feeling lighter. Possibilities seem to unfold more naturally. Things you used to wrestle with seem to find you with less struggle, less noise. Not because you stopped putting in effort, not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped resisting. The writer names this beautiful state non-resistance, and once you taste it, once you even brush against it, you can't unknow it. You can't go back to living the old way without feeling the difference. Non-resistance is the space where miracles quietly wait for you. It's the space between what you thought should happen and what is happening, where instead of battling life at every turn, you begin to soften. You begin to allow the idea that maybe, just maybe, even the messy, confusing parts, are leading you exactly where you're meant to go. Most people unknowingly spend their whole lives stuck in resistance. They resist how life unfolds. They resist uncertainty. They resist the in-between moments, the ones that don't fit neatly inside the plan they had in their head. And that resistance? It's exhausting. It's heavy. It turns life into a constant battle, even when things are technically fine. Because no matter what's happening outside, inside, your body is still bracing for disappointment, still tightening against the future, still waiting for the next thing to go wrong. But when you begin to practice non-resistance, even just a little, you start to feel a different rhythm pulsing underneath everything. Things don't have to be perfect for you to feel peace. You stop living by the anxious mantra of "it shouldn't be this way," and you start living with the softer, steadier spirit of "this is what's here, and I trust I can work with it." You shift from fighting life to flowing with it. You let go of the need to hammer everything into shape on your schedule, and instead open yourself to the possibility that life's timing might actually be wiser than yours. You release your death grip on certainty, and in return, you get something better. Real freedom. And in that breath, in that release, you come back home to yourself. You return to the peace that was always waiting for you underneath the struggle. Non-resistance isn't about giving up. It's about showing up differently. It's about moving forward without dragging the heavy chains of fear and control behind you. It's about taking action, but from stillness, not from panic. It's about dreaming big, but trusting that you don't have to bully life into submission to make your dreams real. And paradoxically, it's this very posture, this openness, that invites the things you once chased to finally reach you. Because when you stop resisting, you naturally become more receptive. And when you're more receptive, you receive more easily. And when you receive more easily, you start to realize something profound. The only thing that ever stood between you and abundance was the tension you were holding inside. So the real work becomes simple, but powerful. Instead of asking yourself, "Why isn't it working yet?" you ask, "Where am I still resisting?" And you soften there. Not by forcing yourself to be better, not by shaming yourself for being afraid, but simply by being willing to let go, even just a little more. Ahead, we'll bring everything we've explored together, everything about trust, allowing, non-resistance, and we'll land it all in a final open-hearted truth. That maybe, just maybe, money, success, peace, and joy were never things you had to earn. Maybe they were always yours. Maybe they were always just waiting for you to stop pushing them away and start receiving them. So here we are. After all the striving, after all the chasing, after all the years of trying to figure out the perfect formula, the secret steps, the right way to finally get what we thought we needed, we find ourselves standing in a place much quieter than we ever expected. A place where the real goal was never about manifesting more or hustling harder or crossing some invisible finish line. It was always about resisting less, remembering more, coming home to what was already whole inside of us. The path was never about proving our worth to some external scoreboard. It was about remembering that our worth was never up for debate. It was never something we had to earn. It was something we had to allow. The writer leaves us with a shift that is more profound than anything money alone could give. Because the most powerful transformation you'll ever experience isn't going from poor to rich. It's moving from tense to open, from fear to trust, from survival to flow. Because when you stop living in that constant, invisible war with life, when you stop waiting for everything to look perfect before you give yourself permission to feel safe, when you stop trying to earn what was always already yours, that's when something beautiful happens. you realize you were never meant to fight for abundance. You were meant to relax into it. Not because you gave up on your dreams, but because you gave in to a deeper truth that was there all along. You are already enough. And when you live from that place, money flows, ideas flow, love flows, peace flows. Because the outer world can only ever reflect what you're living internally. You begin attracting, not because you're forcing it, not because you're scripting the perfect affirmations or micromanaging every outcome, but because your energy speaks louder than your words ever could. And your energy now whispers something sacred. I trust. I allow. I receive. So before we close, let me ask you, quietly but directly, what would your life feel like if you stopped resisting it? What would your days feel like if you stopped chasing what was already meant for you? What could you attract if you simply loosened your grip and let it come? Because you don't have to beg life to give you more. You don't have to claw your way into abundance. You only have to open the door, the one you unknowingly kept shut with fear, with tension, with old stories. And if this video helped you even slightly loosen that grip, if it reminded you, even for a moment, of the part of you that already knows how to breathe, how to soften, how to trust, then let that be enough for today. If this message touched something inside you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Bix Book Summary. And drop a comment and share with me, what's one thing you're finally ready to allow into your life? And if you're ready to dive even deeper, the link to Banned Money Secrets is in the description below. Read it not to accumulate more knowledge, but to remember what your heart already knew before fear made you forget. Until next time, I'm Bix. Stay soft, stay steady, and let it come. You're already closer than you think.